Time now for Fueling the Run, delivered by Wendy's, where we take a look at how each team got here. Let's start with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They dispatched Holy Cross and then West Virginia in a tight defensive battle. They easily took down a very good Colorado team in the Sweet 16, and then they got 41 from Caitlin Clark in that revenge game in the Elite Eight against LSU. Finally, on Friday, they needed a strong second-half performance from Clark. They got a key call their way late, Aaliyah Edwards with the moving screen there, but it was a pesky UConn team, and Iowa reaches their second straight national title game. A lot of people didn't think that Iowa would be in this spot. Consider myself one of those people.
Ooh.
Consider myself one of those people because they lost 3 games late in the month of January and February. It didn't seem like they were all going in the same direction. But color me impressed. I mean, they have gotten here. What has been the difference, and how have they been able to turn it around, LaChana?
Well, I called 2 of Iowa's games this year, at Indiana and at Ohio State. So they can blame me for those losses.
Yeah, why are you blaming me? You were on the call.
They can blame me for those losses. But I will be honest with you, I have so much respect for Lisa Bluder. She is a coach that I have for a very long time thought was one of the best in the business. I'm glad that she's getting the spotlight she deserves right now. What she has done with this team this season is remarkable. You lose Cesano on the interior. You lose, it's not last year's team by any stretch. But early in the season, this didn't look like an Iowa team that was going to make it to the Final Four. But you have to credit the work that they have done through the course of this year. Hannah Stuelke has gotten better. Gabby Marshall has weathered the storm of her shooting woes and now has gotten her three-point shot back. So many things about this team have come together. Just their chemistry. I mean, I think that's one of the things we don't talk about enough with this team either, is they're not going to go way down the roster in terms of the number of people they can put on the court, but their chemistry is great. So I didn't see them getting here, but I also didn't know how much they would improve over the course of this season.
They also got some rest, too. That was a big part of that.
Yes, for sure. I mean, after that Big Ten season, just the struggle of going on the road every night, you got targets on your back. There's so many people there. The pressure on Clark to break the record. I feel like they've played better since she broke the record. And I do think, to your chemistry point, LaChana, it takes a special kind of team and player to play around Caitlin Clark. To kind of put your ego aside, knowing you're going to win a lot because she's phenomenal, but do what you can do to help her and to help the team win. And you can check ESPN.com. You can check my bracket. I have Iowa winning the whole thing. So we'll see what happens.
We're going to make some picks at the end of this show. So that's how Iowa got to the title game. How did South Carolina do it? They had a little bit of an easier road, I guess you could say. They rolled over Presbyterian in the first round. They also did the same against the neighbor to the north in UNC in the second round. They probably met their toughest matchup against Indiana in the Sweet 16. They squeezed by with a 4-point victory there. A late game surge helped them out against Oregon State in the Elite Eight. And then on Friday, they were up by 1 at the half against NC State. But then they came out of the locker room looking like a different team. They went on a 29-6 blitz in the third quarter to turn them away. I mean, look, you want to pack the paint? Go ahead. South Carolina can beat you from the outside. You want to disrupt them getting points in the paint? They'll make threes. So what allows this team, Kelly, to almost look like a different team in different quarters?
I think South Carolina's best is the best. It's the best in the country if they're playing their best. And that third quarter was one of the best quarters I've seen from South Carolina maybe all season. NC State is a good team. South Carolina just switched it into third gear, whatever you want to call it, and they blew them out. When they're making shots with the way they rebound and run the floor, they're so difficult to slow down. And I thought defensively, South Carolina was exceptional on NC State. Isaiah James and Sanaya Rivers had been balling all tournament. South Carolina absolutely shut them down. And then their depth, too, LaChana. I thought NC State took kind of a breather at halftime and said, okay, we're right there. And South Carolina just said, no, you're not. We have a completely second gear we can get to.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the number of weapons that Dawn can put on the floor. It's the different ways that they can play depending on what lineups are there. But I think what impresses me most about South Carolina, we can talk about the runs that other teams go on and how they lose leads, all of those things. But really the goal of the game is to win. And I have so much respect for a team that can lose the lead and have to show that resilience, even with a lot on the line, and still come out victorious. And Dawn is one of the great motivators, maybe the greatest motivator in our sport right now as a head coach.
That's what I was going to get to next. Obviously, there are so many different tangible things that make up a great coach. You can talk about the X's and O's. There's a lot of great X's and O's coached, but it takes a coach that can motivate. a team. And it seems like Dawn has been able to do that year in and year out during her time at South Carolina, but it feels a little different this year, LaChina.
Yeah, Dawn can do it all. She can do X and O, she could motivate, but in particular, I love the way she's allowed this young team to kind of grow on their own. You don't see her panicking. You know, I know Dawn is getting older in the coaching game. We don't see, you know, all as much gray hairs. She trusts this team a lot. She allows them to learn through their mistakes as the game goes on. So no matter what happens in the course of the game, the Gamecocks find a way to win, period.
Would you have liked playing for Dawn Staley?
Of course. I think anybody would like to play for Dawn Staley. And what I love about Dawn Staley's teams is the perfect example is someone like Ashlyn Watkins or even Cardoso last year.
Yeah.
Camilla Cardoso coming off the bench. That wouldn't happen in pretty much any other program, but the culture Dawn's built where every player buys into their role and they're willing to do it for the good of the team, and then they know they're going to go on and have success at the next level even with that. So it's just really impressive what she's built.
Going to be a great chess match between the coaches here today for this national title game.